Well, we're halfway through the summer anime season, and you know what that means. It's time to talk about spring. Yes, once again, Mother's Basement's timely, informative season recap is here to tell you everything you should have been watching a few months ago. I'm on a bit of a tight schedule, what with prepping for PAX, doing regular videos, and trying to finish my 100,000 subscriber special before I hit 200k, so I won't be doing separate videos for stuff I dropped and stuff I'm formally reviewing this time around. Instead, I'm just going to be covering what I think is interesting in as small a snippet as possible. Other than that, standard rules apply, which means I'm not going to be talking about ongoing shows that I'm still watching like ReZero, JoJo, and Ace Attorney, even if those are, in order, the three things about which I have the most to say. I guess we should get what I didn't watch out of the way first though. Fortunately, that falls mostly into two broad categories: moe blobs and shonen garbage. Outside of those camps, I stalled on Kumamiko and decided not to continue when I heard that the mangaka apologized officially for how the anime concluded. Joker Game was excruciatingly boring right from the start, and Bungo Stray Dogs and Kuromukuro, while well made, just didn't grab me the way that I wanted them to. There were quite a lot of shonen fight anime this season, and almost none of them were good. I'm not going to disparage toy commercials like Beyblade Burst, Future Card Buddy Fight Triple D, or Duel Masters vs. Revolution Final... Yo, wait, they're still making Duel Masters? What? Anyway, I'm not gonna come down too hard on the toy stuff because normally it's pretty inoffensive and I don't have any interest in even trying to watch it. On the other hand, I did try to watch End Ride, Cerberus 100, and Big Order, and all of those shows can just fuck off and die. End Ride is an absolute mess from the word go that fails to so much as string together a coherent sentence, let alone a coherent plot. And 100 is maybe the least competent irregular at Magic High School knockoff I've seen to date. Well, except for maybe the Asterisk War, which somehow managed to get a second season this spring. I didn't watch that, but I'm sure it was just as terrible as the first. And then there's Big Order, the Mirai Nikki author's ham-fisted attempt at ripping off JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Imagine for a second that you replace all of the stands from JoJo with Death Note Shinigamis in bondage gear. Now make it look 10 times dumber than what you first imagined. Now file down all of the sides of that idea until it's nothing but pure edge. Big Order is what you're imagining, only worse. What this show doesn't seem to get is that the entertainment value of a stand is inversely proportional to how obviously practical it is. If you're gonna knock off JoJo, knock off Echoes, The Lock, or Sticky Fingers, the cool, unique stands that are interesting to watch fight. Vague, all-purpose stand powers like regenerating body parts or absolute dominion over everywhere you walk are boring. Big Order's painful to sit through, and I couldn't do it for more than 2 episodes. I also couldn't commit myself to more than one moe blob show this season, which is unfortunate because there were a whole bunch of those too. My buddy Digibro will swear by Sancha Sanyo, and I thought Bakwan and An Happy were kinda cute, but you know, fuck it, only so much time in the week. The only cute girls doing cute things show I did end up watching all the way through is High Footy, and then only because it looked like it might turn into something more interesting. It didn't. Picture this. In the near future, sea levels have risen above the skylines of most major cities, and mankind now ekes out a living on what little land is left. Society has been reformed around the Navy, and most people spend their life at sea. In this new world, a strange epidemic begins spreading, causing crews to mutiny spontaneously, threatening the very fabric of society. Sounds pretty exciting, right? Just imagine the possibilities of a setting like that. High-stakes naval warfare, rescue operations at sea, high school hijinks, alright, fuck, it's an anime. High School Fleet has a legitimately cool premise, which it sometimes makes good on, but it barely does anything with it. There's a plot that sometimes threatens to be interesting, but it's never given the time that it needs to be fleshed out. That's because there's like 30 fucking girls on this ship, and all of them need to be given screen time so you can pick your waifu. I don't watch a lot of cute girls doing cute things shows in general, but when I do, I value quality over quantity. There are a lot of girls in this show, all with cute designs, but all of their personalities boil down to exactly one quirk, and a few hours after finishing the last episode, I can't remember any of them. The show's kinda all over the place, and I can't for the life of me figure out why I decided to watch the whole thing past the point where it became obvious that nothing of note was gonna happen in the plot. It's not even an interesting kind of bad, it's just sort of bland outside of some legitimately cool battles, and I can't even bring myself to give it a medal rating. I did also get around to watching a couple of shonen series, and those were quite a bit more entertaining. Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress was chalked up as an Attack on Titan ripoff before it even started airing, but in my opinion, it manages to outshine the Otena onslaught. A big contributing factor is the quality of the artwork. There's a level of detail and shading on display here that hasn't really been seen in commercial anime since the early 90s, and the character designs are a lot more cool and varied than what you get in Attack on Titan with its reliance on military uniforms. The action scenes are cooler too. Fast samurai zombies with molten iron blood pumping through their veins make for more interesting cannon fodder than lumbering giants. The choreography is a lot more acrobatic than the Titan brawls or even the 3D maneuverable gear fights, and Kabaneri is bolstered by slick, fluid animation. The tone is exponentially more intense as well. The show feels at times like a heavy metal album cover come to life, especially when characters do things like cauterize zombie bites with hot iron and cut the blood flow to their brain using metal clamps. The show's got a cool cast of heroes who you want to root for, but they're not particularly fleshed out or nuanced. Neither is the plot, which essentially serves to move things from one badass fight to another. Make no mistakes though, the fights are badass. The show gets really dumb toward the end and the conclusion feels super rushed, but it stays fun and that counts for a lot. I give it a bronze medal rating. An interesting counterpoint to that is My Hero Academia, which has almost too many great characters to count. Set in a world where superpowers called quirks are commonplace, this shonen battle series follows one of the rare individuals with no inherent powers in his struggle to become a real superhero. Of course, it's an anime, so it's set in a high school, but it's a pretty cool high school considering that it trains superheroes. The setting facilitates lots of lighthearted hijinks and opens an array of crazy specific superpowers up that make for some really interesting fights, but that's not the real draw. The show is, at its heart, a character study that examines what it really means to be a hero. That might sound a little cliched, and it is, but it's executed masterfully. Watching series protagonist Midoriya struggle against the circumstances of his birth and the unfair world around him leads to a lot of potently heartwarming and heart-wrenching moments. The show brought me to the verge of manly tears twice in just the first couple of episodes, and as it expanded its roster of characters, it only got stronger. It has a fleshed out supporting cast and even a solid complex set of villains that make it far more interesting than your standard high school battle fare. Boku No Hero Academia spends a lot of time diving into what makes its characters tick, but it may be a bit too much. My main complaint with the series is that the plot moves kind of slowly. It takes multiple episodes to get through arcs that could easily be done in one without sacrificing much in the way of character development and world building. I can respect a show for wanting to take things slow, but My Hero Academia ends right as its plot feels like it's taking off, and that's a bit of a letdown. Still, what little of the story we do get to see is very well done, as are the fights because, well, it's Bones, of course they are, and I'm giving it a silver medal rating. There is one more shonen series that I made it partway through in which I've been meaning to catch up on, but it's a long one so that may take a while. Ushio and Tora is a real throwback, a modern adaptation of a classic 80s manga about a boy and his pet man-eating demon. Like many 80s shows, Ushio and Tora is very much a Monster of the Week episodic affair, following the titular Ushio and Tora from one battle against supernatural enemies to the next. The lead's chemistry makes it really interesting and funny to watch, and if you miss shows in that vein, this one is quite good. While I can't quite score it until I'm finished watching it, I do recommend checking it out. As for the other shonen show I'm following, it'll be another 2 seasons before I can talk about JoJo in one of these recaps, but Sakamoto Desica at least lets me talk about a JoJo character, albeit one who's somehow wandered into a gag manga by mistake. Sakamoto Desica is what I like to call a weird dude comedy, a specific subgenre that's been absolutely exploding in popularity lately. These shows are almost always set in high school, centering around one character, usually a handsome guy, who draws the attention of everyone around him like a magnet. Shows like this used to come out from time to time, stuff like Tonari no Seki-kun or Monthly Girls no Zaki-kun, but recently they've become like a real thing. Spring brought us 2 in Sakamoto Desica and Tanaka-kun is Always Listless, while the summer has 3, Mob Psycho 100, Saiki Kusuo, and Honda-kun. It's getting pretty nuts, and so far all of them have been pretty damn funny. Sakamoto's quirk is that he is physically incapable of looking bad. Anything that he does, he will do in the most cool, stylish, fabulous way possible. Like I said, he basically stepped out of the pages of JoJo. Of course, a guy this perfect is gonna ruffle some feathers, and many episode plots focus on tough guys trying to one-up him, or an obnoxious girl trying to convince him to love her. All scenarios that set up comedy gold. The series gets progressively less and less sane as the threats to Sakamoto grow bigger and his coolness starts to break the laws of reality. And as this happens, it only gets funnier. Sakamoto Desica is a laugh riot from start to finish, and I'm giving it a gold medal recommendation. It's a little harder to recommend the next show on this list, but the show itself is no less funny. Myoga, or The Lost Village, is a bizarre psychological horror series about 30 strangers who hop on a bus for a trip to a mysterious lost village where they hope that they can start their lives over. Once they get to the village, they find it surrounded by monsters that I don't want to spoil, but trust me, it's interesting, and not at all what you'd expect. The hook of the show is its large cast of quirky personalities. It is, after all, about a bunch of people who are crazy or desperate enough to want to live off the grid, and who will, of course, be killed off one by one in a grisly fashion according to the dictates of the exploitation horror genre. You will feel like you can see everything that's coming in this show a mile off from the word go. And that's where it gets you. At every turn, Myoga subverts your expectations to create humor, and it is uproariously funny. When you finally see where everything is going, you will laugh your ass off. At least, that's true if you're the type of person who can appreciate something ironically. From its incompetent directing to its hilariously inane dialogue, Myoga is made poorly on purpose. Some people who don't like it would argue otherwise, but it was made by the director of Shirobako, and I can say with a fair degree of certainty that he knows better than to do this accidentally. If you go into this show wanting to be scared, you'll be disappointed, because that's kind of the joke. But if you watch it hoping for some good laughs in the vein of Deadly Premonition or The Room, then you will come away very, very satisfied. I want to say more because I think this show is smart and has some interesting underlying themes beyond the humor, but those themes tie into the style of humor and the nature of the jokes, so explaining them would spoil a lot and do the show a disservice. I'm giving Myoga a black medal recommendation because it's best enjoyed ironically, but don't take that to mean that it's poorly made. The show accomplishes everything that it sets out to do, and it does it well. It's just that what it sets out to do is make a bad show. Another show that accomplishes exactly what it aims to do is Flying Witch, and what it aims to do is make you feel warm and fuzzy all over. This Iyashikei, or healing series about a young witch in training living with her cousins, has all the feel-good mojo of Kiki's Delivery Service, only with nicer boobies. It's also got a bit of a dark tinge to its humor that prevents it from getting too sugary sweet, although make no mistake, this show aims to be pretty damn saccharine. The friendships that the titular witch Makoto develops with her younger cousin and everyone around her are super cute. Aside from writing that exudes good vibes, the show's best tool for making you happy is probably its animation. Not only are the characters wonderfully energetic and expressive, but the animation on the environments often borders on breathtaking. There's a lot of sakuga here, and now that's 2 obscure Japanese terms that describe this show, so you know this one has to be good. Flying Witch is one of those shows that you can pop on at any time and instantly smile, a breed of show that's thankfully become more and more prevalent these days. If you watched it and were left craving more of the warm hugs it gave you, then this season's Sweetness and Lightning and a Manchu will be right up your alley. As for Flying Witch itself, if you haven't seen it already, I give it a gold medal recommendation. Of course, for every show that makes you smile, there's gotta be one that makes you cry. Kiznaiver, a show about teenagers coping with trauma by physically sharing their pain, aims to be that anime, which is somewhat unexpected coming from Studio Trigger. When people think of Trigger, they inevitably make the comparison to Gainax, and not just Gainax, but Crazy Gainax, the part of Studio Gainax that brought us Evangelion, FLCL, Gurren Lagann, and Panty and Stocking. And even outside of those series, neither Gainax nor Trigger has ever been known for the sort of subdued, emotional shows that you'd expect from a scriptwriter like Mario Kata. Thing is, Kiznaiver is not one of those shows. It is decidedly nothing like Kill la Kill or Inferno Cop, but it's not much like Anohana or Hanasaku Iroha either. In keeping with the spirit of Trigger, the show eschews modesty and subtlety in favor of loud, outrageous characters experiencing big, bombastic emotional moments, and of course an extremely on-the-nose metaphor for empathy in the Kizuna system, which links the principal cast through their wounds. Ultimately, I think this show is a little too blatant for its own good. The messages that it tries to get across about friendship are obvious to the point that it feels like you're being hit over the head with them half the time, and its biggest moments are too ridiculous to get potent gut reactions like you get from the end of Anohana. But some of the smaller moments do work really well. From an animation standpoint, the show is capital G gorgeous, and the cast is immensely likable and relatable in a very over-the-top Trigger sort of way. It's definitely worth the watch, even if it doesn't deliver on everything perfectly, and I give it a silver medal rating. Kiznaiver isn't the only Trigger show this season though, and unfortunately for it, the other Trigger show that aired during spring is one of the greatest series ever put to television. Space Patrol Luluco is a short series about a young girl named Luluko who just wants to live a normal high school life. This desire is complicated when her father, a Space Patrol officer, accidentally freezes himself, and she is forced to take his job in order to pay for the unfreezing. Being a Space Patrol officer is ever so slightly embarrassing, especially since her primary method of attack is contorting her body to transform Megatron style into a giant pistol. But that inconvenience is offset by how impossibly handsome her new partner, Alpha Omega Nova, turns out to be. Luluko is about a lot of things at once. It's clearly a mishmash of every thought that entered Hiroyuki Imaishi's head during its production, all condensed into 13 8-minute chunks of insanity. But at its pure crystalline heart, the show is all about love. And not just romantic love, though it manages to tell a more compelling love story than most longer series. Luluko is a love letter to Trigger's fans. If Kiznaiver is a departure from Trigger's identity as a studio, then Luluko is a loud affirmation of it. The show embodies the insanity that people have come to expect from the studio, and pays homage to every one of their other properties in creative and delightful ways. It's basically Trigger, the anime, and it is a blast to watch. And while I'm loath to spoil it, it has one of the hypest endings of any show I've seen in a long damn time. All 4 seasons of Luluko get a gold medal rating. And that brings us at last to the end of the season. Except, of course, for my real area of expertise, crowning the top OP and ED of spring 2016. There was some hot competition for Best OP. ReZero and Boku No Hero Academia made very strong pushes, and Flying Witch just about took it with its infectiously cheerful clapping. But it's been a while since I've seen an OP quite as enrapturing as Kiznaiver's. While Kiznaiver itself might not be all that subtle in how it explores its core themes, this visual representation of the concept of connectedness, of seeing yourself in others, is damn near perfect. This is not a complex, layered OP, but it fully encapsulates what the show is about, while giving us beautifully animated glimpses into the main cast. Watching the zooming kaleidoscope imagery of this OP fly by is positively hypnotic, and the theme song Lay Your Hands on Me by Boom Boom Satellites is a perfect match to the visuals. As Boom Boom Satellites' last single ever, it also serves as a fitting send-off to a great pair of musicians. All of that gives Kiznaiver the edge over the competition and makes it my favorite OP of the season. As for Best ED, That's no contest. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, disappointed a little with its funky yet basic first OP, Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town, but its ED, I Want You by Savage Garden, has impressed from the very start. In a series chock full of legendary tier EDs, including one that's become a full-blown meme, this might well be the cream of the crop. Maybe I'm a sucker for these long, serene, zooming animations. Maybe it's that I Want You is a refreshing change of pace from all this dang J-pop. The reason doesn't really matter. Nothing else this season can touch this ED in my mind. Good work as always, David Production. With that said, I can finally put a cap on Spring 2016, and all of the people who keep asking me when this recap video will be done. I promise, well, I'll try to get summer done a little bit quicker. If this is the first time you've seen one of my season recaps and you want more like it, click this annotation on the left to bring yourself to my Winter 2016 video. Or if you want to hear about more current shows, click the one on the right to watch my video about ReZero and Konosuba. And if you want to keep hearing what I think about anime, consider subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications, and following me on Twitter at G0FFThu. Thanks for watching, and thank you to all the patrons who made this video possible. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to hire an editor, the handsome and talented Flip Anime, to get this video made. You guys are the real MVPs of this season. This is Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.